Hi, welcome back to Ask the Professor with Terry Cooper, the Texas RV professor. We were talking about Terry last segment, and his experience and the idea that you can do 80% of the repair work or maintenance work on your RV. But one of the things that we find, I think, and maybe you can verify this, Terry, is people get excited about purchasing an RV
Oh,
and they
yes.
haven't really thought out all the technical things that they may need to be considering and up front.
hmm
Is that true?
Very much so. Well, see, we know that if a person buys an RV and they have a good experience with it, they will in their life buy a minimum of 7 RVs,
Wow.
which is a pretty profound number when you think about it. But it all really does begin on how you get off. Did you get off on the right foot on this purchase? And like you said, so many times we purchase things on the emotion without really thinking about what we're going to use it for. And
Okay.
so, when I go to a lot of these RV shows, people come up and say, well, what kind of RV should I buy? And I'm thinking, I don't even know this person. So where do I begin? And so from there, I came up with a list of things that seems to work real well when those people ask that kind of question.
Okay, so that's your world famous 5 things you need to know before you buy an RV. And we have some graphics here to look at. And I'm going to move forward here. Number one.
Well, you need to ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing? You know, what is your lifestyle? What is it you and your family enjoy doing? Are you looking for that campground experience? Are you looking for that? Maybe you're someone who's into the motorsports and you need that SUV type thing, type of vehicle. What is it that really is driving this purchase? Why are you even thinking of going into this lifestyle? So you have to ask yourself, what is it we enjoy doing? Because let's face it, those things that we enjoy doing, we will do and we will benefit by buying an RV if we buy the right one.
Okay. All right. Here we go to number two. And that is which RV supports your lifestyle?
Exactly. I mean, which RV are we looking at here is going to support your lifestyle? Are you a family that where maybe you need to have everybody in the same living room as you're traveling down the highway? So it's like a giant suburban? Well, maybe a motorhome is what you're looking for. And it could be a big motorhome, a big Class A, or it could be a Class C, which is the smaller unit, or maybe even a Class B, which is, the modified van. But then there's other situations to where maybe you're a full timer and you're going to need something bigger. So you're going to need a lot more room in it. So here again, that lifestyle, what you enjoy doing is going to drive what type of vehicle.
Right.
And there's other things that come into play there, but the big thing is that lifestyle that you have.
Right, and it's stage of life as well. I mean, if you have young children and you're trying to give them the outdoor experience, a Class A probably isn't it, right?
Most definitely. Unless you're daddy, Warbucks here and you got
Well, yeah, that's
bunches of
true.
dollars, but you're absolutely right. Most families, they're going to have to go with a little bit of a budget issue there, and we'll talk
Right.
about that in a little bit, but you're right. A family's going to have a different need than, a couple will.
Okay, and of course, it is confusing when you look at what's a Class A, a Class C, a Class B, a pop-up, which we also call fold downs. Pop-ups and fold downs somehow are the same thing, right?
They are. It
And
depends
then
on what
there's
part of the country you're
the
from. I've
Class.
heard them called pop-outs, pop-ups, like
Yeah,
you said.
right. And then you've got those fifth wheels, which are they aren't a class at all, right? They're something else, and they have a that gooseneck on them, and so there's a lot of terminology that I think throws people initially when they get into the RV buying mode. And then of course there's one of the things that's not on here is what here in the RV capital we call a camper, which is a camper. A lot of these things get referred to as campers. In the industry, a camper is the thing that you slide into the back of a pickup truck, which is more
Most
of a
definitely.
lot of times for hunters. So,
Yes.
and that's not necessarily a good choice for families, but it might be. But
Kind of close quarters usually.
usually it's close quarters, and it's a kind of a sleep only kind of thing.
Yes.
But again, my point is that the terminology sometimes can be confusing at
hmm
first, anyway. So, okay, number 3 on your list of 5 is which features and options.
Well, to some people, um, a washer and dryer is a must-have.
Mm-hmm.
To others, just to have a toilet in the RV is a major, a major luxury.
Whoopee.
So,
Yeah.
you have to ask yourself, here again, what are you going to do with it? What is your lifestyle?
Right.
And what are your expectations? And, what do you have to have? I mean, when we look at a Class A, we usually say a Class A motorhome, we usually say that it's cocktails for 6, dinner for 4, sleeping for 2.
Okay.
Well, those options are a little bit different than like what you would put with a family, because you may need to have bunk space for those guys, and you may have,
Right.
and there's some of the models out there that travel trailers and fifth wheels that have a room for the girls and the room for the boys, and everybody has their own little bunk space, so they have their own privacy. So, you have to ask yourself, what features and options are you looking for?
And you also have to look at what kind of camping you're going to be doing along with that, because a lot of times campgrounds, like you were talking about washer dryer, those services are very often available at the campgrounds
Yes.
you're going to. If you're not going to be at campgrounds, then maybe there's a different story. But again, you can get what you want
Hmm.
when you're RVing, but maybe not all in the RV. Is that a good statement to make?
Very good. I mean, it's like everyone always says, the manufacturers that I talk to, if you want it and you're willing to pay for it, we can get it in there. But here again is that, one, can you afford it? And two, are you going to really use it in your
Right.
lifestyle? And so you have to find out what's really working for you, because there's nothing more frustrating than you bought the perfect RV and then you realize that you forgot certain things that you really needed for the lifestyle that you're working, or the lifestyle that you're going to be living.
Right. Or you've overbought and you've got features and benefits that really aren't features and benefits because you don't really care to use them after all.
There you go.
So it's kind of
Yes.
like, yeah, you have to put. I always talk about the really test. You say, are you really going to use that? And then you ask yourself that, am I really going to use that? And then you ask yourself again, am I really going to use that? And that's the real answer that you want. Is that at that point? I noticed that you have options like generator and solar panels. Are another thing. I know solar is becoming more and more a factor. How big a factor is that, by the way, in terms of the buying public right now?
Well, we're finding that the segment of the market that seems to be gravitating towards the solar panels are usually your full timers, the
Okay.
folks that are planning on staying out for a little while.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Number 4 on the list of 5 things. What is your budget? Of course, that's the big deal, or one of the big deals.
Well, when you really start looking at that budget, we always seem to have that proverbial, champagne taste, but maybe our budget doesn't necessarily work with it.
Right.
So we have to stop back and back up and say, okay, how much can I afford to spend? And the last thing we want to do is to see someone buy an RV that just went way overboard, went what we call and put themselves in an underwater position. And so the thing I always caution people is keep your emotions in check. Know what you're walking into, know what you're looking for, and that's why I recommend go to these RV shows. That's why they're there. These dealers are trying to put their best foot forward and trying to show off what they have, and this gives you a chance to see the latest, greatest models and features. But go and take a look. And while you're there, just keep your emotions in check. And one cardinal rule that I usually tell most young couples that are getting started, or maybe the folks that are this is their first RV, is tell them no deposits until you have slept on the decision. Because when you put your money down, many times you may not get that money back. So sleep on it. Make
Right.
sure this is something that you really want to do, because I promise you that particular unit or one just like it, there'll be another one.
How,
Um,
how valuable is the advice of other RVers? What you were saying, attending uh, the RV shows is good, but if you can actually stop in at, say, a rally that may be near you where there are RVers there, or talk to friends and neighbors who
mhm.
are using
Yes.
RVs, how valuable can that be, or do people tend to justify their own decisions, or their own bad decisions, let's put it that way, or do they tend to be pretty honest, do you find?
Well, I tell you what, the best buys that I used to see is where a friend was helping them. That friend has already had some experience and kind of guide them along.
Right.
And typically we also know that when we buy something, we want someone else to help us validate our decision.
Hmm.
And it's a whole lot easier if you've got your buddy who's already been down this road and fought some of those battles before, if they can kind of come and go with you and guide you. Here again, it just depends on who your buddy is. Some of them have that know-it-all attitude and kind of smother you a little bit.
Hmm.
But if they're that buddy that will help you and guide you, that's really what you're after. Someone who can point out some issues to help you keep that emotions in check, so that way you look at what you're really saying, this is what we need.
Good. Okay. Number 5 on our list is learn how to use your RV.
Wow. Now, learning how to use your RV is probably the most paramount thing that you will have.
And that's what this show is all about, right?
Oh, I hope we can put that message across. And Dave, if there's anything that when we turn off the lights and we call it a day, I hope that people come away with something they can say, I learned something today.
Good.
And to be honest with you, what I see over and over again, a lot of damage that's done to RVs, or a lot of frustration that people just give up, it's because no one really showed them how to utilize it.
Right.
And so what my recommendation is that if you go to a dealership, they will do a show out with you. If you have questions, continue to ask. But then it's amazing how many campgrounds out there will allow you to come and spend your first night for free. And they have someone that will walk you through. Because I'm telling you, when you're going through and you're looking at an RV, there's so much information coming at you, you're just overwhelmed. And then when you get out there, you think, oh, I can't even remember what we were talking about. What did they mean by this switch? What was it going to do? And I can't tell you how many times as a service manager, we would sell someone an RV on a Friday, and we'd be getting a phone call Monday morning. Just, you could almost hear somebody fixing to break down in tears because they were so frustrated and they just had totally forgotten what we had covered with them.
That's right.
Because there's so much information. So what you want to do is to make sure that you've got somebody who's going to give you a good walkthrough.
Right. I noticed that one of your points is don't take your maiden voyage close to home. I think that it's pretty obvious that you don't want to get 200 or 300 miles away from home, and then when you have your first problems or you have the first things that you have to figure out, it's going to be a lot easier. Well, I mean, that's important on a lot of different levels too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
well, it's so much nicer to know that, hey, honey, let's just call it a day. Let's get in the car, or let's get in the truck, and let's drive back home. We'll sleep in our own bed, and we'll come back tomorrow, and we'll take another fresh look at it.
Right. Yeah.
And, that way, cooler heads prevail in that situation.
Right. And if there is something actually wrong with the RV, which can happen, you're not so far away from your dealer that you can't manage to deal with that issue as well. So it's both educational and, I don't know, frustrational level can be frustrational a word? I don't think it is. Anyway, and then also, of course, you have the guided tour DVD that you offer as well, which is a really great overview of all the systems and the way they work in an RV as well.
Well, what we found is that I had some dealers that had contacted me and said, Terry, I give them an owner's manual, we do a walkthrough, and we're still having issues with them. There's such frustration. And what we're finding is that so many of us are visual learners, and we've just sometimes have to have somebody show us, demonstrate it, so we can pick up on it. And so we put that guided tour together for that very reason, to kind of walk you through it. And it's not going to be the answer for everything, but many, many times, if you can just get things going and really begin to enjoy the lifestyle, when you get out at these campgrounds, there'll be others to help you. You're going to be surprised the information you'll pick up, and there's going to be some more things that we'll even put out that will help. But the thing is we've got to get you off on the right foot to begin with.
So, but DVDs like yours and books and other things, RV technology keeps moving forward all the time. But there are still, there's a lot of the things that there's some basic stuff that is fairly consistent and across and consistent across brands that is really going to be useful information, it seems to me.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Well,
some things just won't change. That's just part of it. Let's face it, toilets are toilets, and showers are showers. And
gravity is gravity.
You begin to understand the system, you've got it made.
Yeah, and half of the things work on gravity, and gravity's always there. That doesn't change either. So, okay. Well, we're going to be back in just a moment with questions for the Texas RV professor, so stay with us.
For more TV like this from the world of RVs, head to RVNN.TV.